Hello, I'm Shannan Atkins. I'm a marine biologist and I belong to a consortium that is focused on the conservation biology of humpback dolphins. Today I'm the consortium's mouthpiece. We decided to take on the task of looking at the challenges and opportunities around the conservation of South Africa's endangered Indian Ocean humpback dolphin, Sousa plumbea. I want to introduce you to the animal. This is the humpback dolphin, otherwise known as Sousa plumbea. It's quite similar to the bottlenose dolphin, which is much better known than humpback dolphins. Humpback dolphins can be distinguished from the bottlenoses by the hump and small fin on their backs. They have a very narrow distribution. They live in very shallow water, usually less than 25 meters deep, and you hardly ever find them more than 2 kilometers from the shore. This puts them very close to a high proportion of South Africa's population and the impact of human activities on the land as well as in the marine environment. It's quite a rare species, and they're endangered because they have a very narrow distribution and very specific habitat requirements. There's been a decline in their habitat quality and there's ongoing anthropogenic mortality. And this is the bunch of people that belongs to the consortium. The consortium was established in 2016. It is essentially a collaboration among 18 researchers from 15 different institutions, all with the common goal of improving the long-term conservation benefit for humpback dolphins in South African waters. And here you can see the variety of institutions and organizations that has come together, and they all provide a varied set of resources, knowledge, expertise and experience. Our study areas are dotted along the east and south coasts of South Africa. Humpback dolphins don't occur on the western side of Africa. And the first thing that we did when the consortium was formed was to pool all our photographs which we use to identify individuals. We look at dorsal fins and we see the marks and the nicks and the notches that make individuals distinctive. And our aim was to be able to answer questions at a national rather than just a local scale. So we took 15 existing photo identification catalogues that ranged in time starting in the year 2000 and all up to 2016, though they didn't all span the full 16 years. And we created one mega catalogue. And this expanded each of the small little local study areas into a study that covered about 1,700 kilometers worth of coastline. And what we found was that we could only count 247 distinctive individuals. The best estimate we had before was that there could be around 1,000 humpback dolphins in South Africa, but our pooled data suggested far fewer, possibly only around 500. This news is not good, but on the positive side, it was our first important output as a consortium. We'd taken the data that we collected independently, each researcher in his or her own relatively small study area, and pooled it, and sharing our resources produced data that was relevant to the national population and showed how effective the consortium could be. I want to tell you quickly about the threats that these animals face. Dolphins around the world are troubled by gill nets and are caught unintentionally in gill nets. And the threat that is easiest to quantify for humpback dolphins is the bycatch in KZN, KwaZulu-Natal's shark nets. These nets are set to minimize the risk of shark attacks, but they unintentionally catch a variety of other animals. We know that at least 203 humpback dolphins died in KZN between 1980 and 2009, and we know that this is a significant effect on the population. Pollution is also a major threat. The impact of chemical pollution has been studied, and for humpback dolphins we know that they have exceedingly high concentrations of chemical pollutants, more than other animals in other marine mammals in South Africa, and actually higher than many other animals and marine mammals around the world who have very high levels of chemical pollution. And on the other hand, we haven't quantified the impact of noise pollution, but we know it has a significant and negative effect on dolphins. We believe that low but continuous noise like shipping is a problem, as well as intermittent loud noises like you get during construction. And the major issue is probably the masking of feeding cues and communication, and we also know that it causes stress, which has health implications. You can hear more about it when we join the bioacoustics guys on Wednesday, and consortium member Tess Gridley is a keynote speaker. Coastal development affects these nearshore animals, especially when estuaries are modified, as estuaries are considered critical habitat. Other reasons that coastal development is not conducive to a healthy dolphin population is the increase in waste discharge, and more recently increase in the number of desalination plants too. And also the depletion of their food source. This is because of overfishing, the problems around noise, habitat degradation, and climate change all contribute to this. And looking into the future, these things are only going to get worse. And the other thing that really worries us is that these things aren't happening in isolation. They're all happening at the same time. Cumulatively, we don't doubt that they are affecting the health, the reproduction, and the population dynamics of humpback dolphins. So where to from here? We really weren't sure where to go or what to do. We were just seeing challenges and a negative situation. So we decided to do a SWOT analysis and look at the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats, so that we could get a more balanced view and look at the opportunities as well as the challenges. So each of us was tasked with capturing what we saw as the internal strengths and weaknesses of the consortium, as well as more external opportunities and threats to advance the conservation of humpback dolphins. We took all of these statements that we'd made and pulled them and analyzed them. And I wish I had time to go into the detail with you, but I don't. So we've summarized the type of strengths and weaknesses that we found. Our strengths were around the knowledge that we have already gained and that we can continue to extract. Our weaknesses were around logistics, like funding, and knowledge that we need but don't yet have. A major issue is that we're all biologists and we don't have the skills and the tools that may be needed for conservation. Primary opportunities were governance related, that the endangered status of the species is internationally recognized, and that we as a consortium are gaining recognition, and we're gaining the ear of the government and of international bodies like the International Whaling Commission. However, many of our threats were also around governance, and the fact that many of the problems are wicked problems, and they're not sexy problems. So in terms of the way forward, we think we need a mindset change. We need to ask ourselves, do we need more science, or is this going to result in us just documenting extinction? We've also wondered, there's no sexy problem, can we make the solution sexy? Threats and opportunities both lie in governance. So does that mean we need to get political? And since public opinion directs governance, do we need to ensure more public engagement? And if we do that, how do we convey to the public that species conservation is not about idealism, but about our own survival? I know that I'm preaching to the choir when it comes to this kind of question. We know that there's a lack of understanding that species conservation is not idealistic but imperative. How do we convey this message when 99.9% of people don't even know that humpback dolphins exist and they've managed just fine without them? We found an African proverb that suits us very well. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I'm going to leave it there and say thank you very much for your attention, and a special thanks to all the members of the consortium for their help making this presentation and for their continued dedication to the humpback dolphin and its conservation in South Africa. Thanks. Please go to our website and see more about the project and what we're doing, and just tell people about humpback dolphins.